The Gospel of Matthew introduces us to the coming birth of Christ, but does so by highlighting to us the grave risk that Jesus faced. He faced death before he was even born. Jesus was almost not born at all. Matthew wrote, "This is how the birth of Jesus the Messiah came about. His mother Mary was pledged to be married to Joseph, but before they came together, she was found to be pregnant through the Holy Spirit. Because Joseph, her husband, was faithful to the law and yet did not want to expose her to public disgrace, he had in mind to divorce her quietly. You see, the law of Moses required that virgins engaged to be married who became pregnant should be put to death, along with the man who impregnated her. Joseph was faced with publicly showing Mary was pregnant, though she was not married. This could well mean death for Mary and the unborn child she carried. But an angel spoke to Joseph, reassuring him that the baby was from the Holy Spirit and that Joseph should not fear bringing Mary into his home. Joseph obeyed the angel's command, and instead of death of the unborn Jesus, there would be life. This was the first instance in which death was reversed to life. Not long after Jesus' birth, wise men came from the east seeking Jesus, the one born the King of the Jews. After being led to Bethlehem, the wise men found and worshiped the baby Jesus. When the wise men had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Get up." The angel said, "Take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you. For Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." So Joseph got up, took the child and his mother during the night, and left for Egypt. When Herod realized he had been outwitted by the Magi, he was furious, and he gave orders to kill all the boys in Bethlehem and its vicinity who were 2 years old and under. Instead of death of the child Jesus, there would be life. This was the second reversal of death to life. After Jesus had called his disciples and they began traveling together, Matthew tells us Jesus got into a boat and his disciples followed him. Suddenly a furious storm came up on the lake so that the waves swept over the boat, but Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke Jesus, saying, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." And Jesus replied, "You of little faith, why are you afraid?" Then Jesus got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. Instead of death to those in the boat, there would be life. The leader of a synagogue approached Jesus one day, saying, "My daughter has just died, but come and put your hand on her and she will live." Jesus got up and went with him. When Jesus entered the synagogue leader's house and saw the noisy crowd and people playing pipes, he said, "Go away. The girl is not dead, but asleep." But they laughed at him. After the crowd had been put outside, he went in, took the girl by the hand, and she got up. Instead of death of a little girl, there was life. Finally, 2 rebels were crucified with Jesus, one on his right, one on his left. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, darkness came over the land. About 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of those standing there heard this, they said, "He's calling Elijah." Immediately one of them ran and got a sponge. They filled it with wine vinegar, put it on a staff, and offered it to Jesus to drink. The rest said, "Now leave him alone. Let's see if Elijah comes to save him." And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. Death came to Jesus, death upon the cross. And Jesus' body was buried in a tomb. And after Sabbath, at that dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. An angel said to the woman, "Do not be afraid, for I know you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He's not here. He's risen." So the woman hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. "Greetings," he said. And they came to him and clasped his feet and worshipped him. Instead of death, there was life, the resurrected life of Jesus. The stories of Christmas and Easter are inescapably linked. One story informs the other. And what those two stories teach us is that we should have hope. For in the coming of Jesus is for us the great reversal of death to life.